Chapter 3, Scene 3.
The Temple of Vanity is a fine building, with silver and polished bronze freely lavished on decoration. Amethysts twinkle in its marble walls, in cunning pewter settings, whirled in patterns like leaves tossed by wind, inlaid traceries of pewter running behind each gem to create the illusion of movement. The name on the altar reads Pride. The temple priests worship this god as a being of fulfillment and national unity, a patriotic god of loyalism and dignity. His portrait is manly and grand, recognizable but only just. For though Vanity is grand and, indeed, even manly, he is also smug and prettified, oozing with oily self-regard. Ingway reclines upon a teak pew in the temple and watches two of Vanity's worshippers as they lay their sealed prayers upon the altar, along with paltry gifts. They are potters and have brought a sacrifice of glazed clay vases.
What ho, ferryman! Been to Dunhilda of late?
Vanity has emerged from some alcove and approached Ingway's pew. He is gloating. His eyes twinkle. But he stands in the brightly lit centre aisle, well away from any shadow save his own.
Often and repeatedly. You pay and see to that.
Oh, I know they do. I don't know why old Torabin still fights. Orchard Hill has twice his land and 3 times his people. Eventually he will kneel.
Of course. I spent a fair amount of time here as well. Young Melisande keeps me busy, sending me your servants.
Melisande. I hear he's a favorite of yours. Do the forces take on priests now?
Who starts these rumors? No priests or worshippers for me. I admit that I like any man who blackens your eye. But that's neither here nor there.
Well, we all must take our licks. What brings you here?
Ingway points to the 2 potters. They kneel together now, their heads bowed before the altar, one supporting the other with an arm beneath his armpit. The other murmurs a prayer.
Oh, yes, something about a child, I believe.
Orwin's son Tam is sick with Bantine. He and his apprentice are here to pray, to ask you to save the child's life.
So, you're here for the child?
Perhaps. That's up to you.
Well, healing's never really been my strength, has it?
No. You're far better at harming.
If the child has Bantine, let your sister disease determine its fate.
She has.
Ingway stands, and Vanity, reflexively, shrinks back. Even among gods, there are some who are grander than others, some who are feared. None are feared like Ingway.
I'm off to do my reaping then. Perhaps you can console your worshipper, if that is among your strengths.
Ingway does not go immediately to the child. There are several hours yet before it will draw its last breath. He has time. He goes instead to the nearby palace of Dorwyn, where Orchard Hill's king sits in council.
I sent 100 men to that village. 100! Do you think I have men lying about by the 100 to just misplace? That's 100 helms, 100 spears, dozens of swords, and enough gambeson to resail a frigate.
It's not too late to hope for word. Messages may have been intercepted. We don't know the men are dead.
Bah! Don't tickle my ears, Orwick. 2 weeks and nothing. They're gone.
Ingway smiles. He should not allow himself satisfaction. But he remembers reaping those 100 soldiers. They had been sent to raise a village, one of a dozen that Dorwyn had so far targeted. Until that very moment that they entered the village, Ingway did not know which side would call more of his forms to labour. Much hung upon timing, upon the moment when Melisande sprung his trap. And then, when the moment came, and Melisande fell upon his enemies, Ingway felt more than 100 calls for reaping, nearly all from the men of Orchard Hill. Ingway had watched the battle in many of his forms, seen Melisande's courage from 100 perspectives, watched him fall when an arrow struck his helmet, watched him rise and continue fighting, his balance gone, his steps staggering. He had watched afterward, when his men hoisted him on their shoulders and chanted his name, when he raised his youthful fists to the sky and called out,
"Praise duty!"
Ingway had tarried and enjoyed what he witnessed. He found himself growing fonder of Melisande with his every visit to this tiny war. The gold-haired youth had been raised by Gaudry and lived by the old king's words, and cherished the old king's daughter. True, Melisande had brought many souls to Ingway, but there was no malice in the sending, no lust, no cruelty. He desired not death, but preservation. Ingway loved him.
I've received news from my barony that several wagons have been raided in the past weeks. Almost certainly men from Dunhill. Bandits or soldiers. It hardly matters.
Yes, I saw. I've dispatched 50 men-at-arms to clear your forests. Now listen. All of you. You are my barons. My lords. My hands and fingers in this realm. Whatever injury comes to me will strike you first. We need answers. We need eyes in the lands between ourselves and Torabin. This blind striking is too costly. Orwick, I want you to start establishing waypoints, fortifications that our messengers can rely on. You will have whatever gold you need. Consult with Ariel, the scoutmaster, for locations.
Ingway, who has leaned against a grand tapestry of the king throughout this discussion, straightens and rolls his winged shoulders. He slips backward through the wall and out into the night. Enough of fleshly politics. He will wait his last hours beside the child and be ready with comfort when it passes.